Hi everyone, welcome to our Team Spark call. Today is Wednesday, the 5th, and I am so excited to share my tips and trainings on how to share your story effectively and to be able to use your story to connect with people. A lot of times you hear in the business, as a Beachbody coach, as any entrepreneur, share your story, share your story, share your story. And how do we share our story is really where it comes down to, because a lot of us have stories and we know our stories, but we have so much of our story that we don't know what to share, what not to share, and it turns into an hour-long, talk with someone about your life story. And I want you to get the base of everything where you can flow your story out within 5 minutes and you can be very consistent and you can connect with that person. Regardless if it's with the business or with them joining your challenge group, if it's their time to want to do that, your story and their decision should connect. So the first part of your story that I would want you to share is your roots. This could be where you came from, how your childhood was, what you did as a child, just different beliefs that came up as a child that you continued believing. This could be where your family's from. This could be, how you were raised in certain religions. This identity, I do believe that your roots are a big part of and shape a big part of who you are. This is where my struggle is, my roots right here. So any struggle you have in your life that you're going to share with somebody, that is actually where you're going to connect with the people more. You might think your accomplishments or things that, that you're accomplishing, that's what's going to connect. It's really your struggles and how you overcame your struggles. Because we're not trying to share a perfect story. We're trying to share a story that we're our own hero. So the next part is your journey. And this is, from the time you were young to now. How did all of that, how did it lead you to be a Beachbody coach? How did that lead you to wanting live a healthy lifestyle? How did that lead you to where you are today? And that comes up with a good question, because a lot of people will ask, what do you do? And what do you do for a living? Or what do you do for work? And that question is pretty generic, and it's straight, it's kind of tacky almost. It's like straight to the point. And instead, what I'm learning from one of my business mentors is to ask people, how did all your experiences lead you to what you're doing today? And that is so much more of a connection with somebody, because it doesn't just say, okay, I decided to do something. I decided to become a Beachbody coach, and that's what I do. It's how did that form? How did that unroll in your life? And with your journey, you're going to have observations. For me, observations were, if I worked out, I felt better mentally. If I worked out, almost every aspect of my life changed. The accountability in my challenge groups, that completely changed the way I thought about fitness, because I seriously thought it was just you and that was it. That was the only people on that journey, when really there's so much more connection when it comes to Beachbody. I observed that that fitness can empower me. And I observe that moms out there that don't have that in their life, or struggle with other things, regardless if it was a difficult childhood, they could have had the best childhood ever, but still struggle with self-confidence, with finding out who they are. So that was my observation. Everybody observes differently. You can observe something completely different than me in your life, but that is a big part of our journey, our observations. And that's the questions that come up into our mind. What if I decided to use health and fitness to empower other women? That's pretty much what I came to mind when I met Shannon, and I had this in my back of my head I didn't know where it was going to come from, what I was going to do. But when I met my sponsor coach, I knew that this could be the platform for me to share my story and to be able to empower other people. So that right there is kind of a nutshell of how you should share your story. You always start off with your roots identity. You talk about your journey a little bit. You talk about how you overcame obstacles and the observations that you've learned. And then you also talk about your beliefs. Like I usually say at the end of my story, I believe that if you work on your health and fitness, everything in your life can change. If you authentically tell your story, you can change people's lives. I believe anybody that wants to could build this business any way they want and hit any financial goal that they want if they're willing to put the work in. I mean, those are strong beliefs, and those are my core beliefs when it comes down to my story and who I am. I believe that your childhood does not define you. So any label, any mental illness label or anything like that that has labeled you in your life, learning disability, having, anything, with this, any type of disability, any labels, those don't define you. What define you are how you overcome those obstacles. And that is a strong core belief. So that's kind of like, I know it's really short, but this is what I've learned so far about sharing your story. It needs to be to the point. It needs to be within 5 minutes. And it needs to have a journey, your roots, identity, where you come from. Because these are going to, what you want in any direction of your story, you want connective tissue. You want people to connect with you in any way they can so that they actually see what you're offering and that it's actually something that you're doing and you're overcoming your obstacles with it. Anybody can go online to Amazon and buy Shakeology. Anybody can go online and buy the 21-day fix. Anybody can do it. The reason why they buy it with you is because of your story or your drive or your beliefs or your system or whatever. It has to do with you. You are yourself. You are your own brand. And your story, to me, is like your business card. It's the first thing that people need to know. As soon as I get on the phone with somebody, I ask them tons of questions about themselves. As soon as they ask me about me, I will go, if they say, well, what do you do? And I said, well, can I tell you a little bit about me? And it can reveal what I actually do. And that's how I go into it. I don't say right off the bat, I'm a Beachbody coach. Because there's 300,000 Beachbody coaches between Canada and the USA. So that doesn't really define what I do, because I could be somebody that hands out Shakeology samples, or I could be somebody that wants to build a 6-figure income. So there's two, when somebody says Beachbody coach, it could mean anything. So I usually tell my story and tell my drive to explain what I do. So Ashley, since you're the only one on the call, do you have any questions for me about my platform of sharing your story?
Yes. I would absolutely love to know what questions you ask people to get to know them better.
I always ask them right away, because of my connective tissue, is, do you have any kids? I say, do you have any kiddos? Or I go on their Facebook page or their Instagram and I say, hey, how old's your son? Or what type of dog is that? I usually ask them right away, because you can get a lot of information about somebody with their photos, with their posts. I read a quote the other day that was really, really insightful, that the way to determine a person, not by what they say, but by their questions. So make sure when you do ask questions, make sure they're really good and not just like, hey, what do you do? You could say, I'm really in depth when I try to connect with people. I talk to them. I'm vulnerable. I talk to them about how I'm sad that my son's going to kindergarten and I'm nervous for myself. And I talk about how my house is getting remodeled and it's stabling for me. I talk to somebody about my air conditioning going out. So I share a tiny bit of me, but I ask them a kind of a vulnerable question. but I also share about me. So it's more of a like even playing field when it comes to getting to know somebody. Does that make sense?
Yes. How long do you go back and forth with the person that you're talking with? Because I've had conversations as long as 20, 30 minutes, and that's not really a good use of my time.
No, that isn't a good use of your time. But getting to know someone is fine, but not necessarily. You want to make sure your message is in there, because our forming, I don't know if you know about forming, you probably do. You know what forming is.
Yes.
The last thing is the message. And getting to know someone is great, but there has to be a point where you're like, have you ever considered doing what I do? Or have you, I ask that question. There's a part where I talk about how positive somebody is and I see their positive posts. And I ask them, well, have you ever considered doing what I do? Or, if they talk any negativity about the job, and I could say, have you ever thought about doing what I do? People around me are really positive and I can stay home. So you find out things about those people that if this business is right for them, you show them how this could help them. So it's really individual. Do you get what I'm saying? So say somebody has to go to work, or with you're a college mom. This is a good, if you're connecting with moms in that college, do you friend a lot of the moms that are at the college your daughter's at? Have you ever done that? What school does your daughter go to?
Utah State University.
Do you ever go there and try to find a group of Utah State moms?
That's a great idea.
Yeah. So just anything like that, just a common core. Because you want to be really with your target audience, with who you want to serve, you want to be really specific. For me, it's moms that have crazy little kids. Most of the time they have a boy, at least one boy. I need to connect with that because boys are crazy. And the moms usually need to lose weight, or they want to build a business. Those are my two main types of moms. Disney fanatics, and a lot of times they're spiritual, because you share a lot of spiritual things, regardless if you're the same religion or not. That's another a topic you can talk about faith, about praying for someone. If they talk to you about something, I'll pray for you. I don't know if you've written that to people before. That's really powerful, because that connection is so deep, spiritual connection with someone, regardless of your faith-based. Even me and Jessica, she's on our team. I know that she's a Christian, and I know, yes, but we've connected. We've talked about being faith-based with your business, and that, that's a shared connection. And I think that's my biggest thing that I do. I love connecting with people. So those are the questions, but you need to make sure you steer it and keep control over the conversation. Meaning guests are talking to you, but make sure, because the 30-minute, I've done it, the 30-minute conversations back and forth,
Okay.
It's really not necessarily going to get you to your goal with your business. It's nice that you're there to talk to them, but do you have a service to help them? Because you do, Working out makes people happy, regardless if they need to lose weight or not.
Right.
Building a business makes it an income, and you can do anything with that income. So remember that and be confident about that. So if somebody tells you, I had somebody the other day that was like, I don't want to do what you do. I love MedFast, and that's how I lost 200 pounds. And as soon as MedFast comes out with the coaching thing, I'm going to do MedFast. And I'm like, that's completely fine. I'm happy. Early on in the conversation, I got that across to her, and I could go ahead and put her on a contact later list, or I can talk to somebody new. Because the people that are new, they need you. There is a tribe out there that needs Ashley, or needs Jessica, or needs Marcy, because we're the only people that they connect with. Brigitte Linford actually shared that there's the sad part is when people quit coaching is they might not think they're going to be huge or big, but there's only a certain amount of people that can connect with that in person. So somebody is not going to connect with Scotty Hobbs. It's going to connect with Brigitte Linford. That might not connect with any of them and connect with me, with my story, with where I come from. with what my philosophies are, my beliefs. So does that make sense? Sorry, I hope I didn't go on a rant. Do you have more questions?
It does. No, I don't think so.
Okay. Okay, so that's
That
a
was
wrap.
great. I really like that. I'm excited to learn how to do my story.
Yeah, and the great thing too, another tip is that I'm using my my memo, my voice memo on my phone, and I'll write out my story, and I'll say my story, and then I'll listen back at it and listen to it. Every day I listen to my story. Every day I listen to my story, and every day I try to make it shorter and more impactful. Because the more impactful your story is, the more times you share it, the more people you're going to help, and we're in a helping business. So that's the key. Yes, it's vulnerability, because you're going to be sharing stuff about you that's hard to share. It's hard to share some stuff about me, but I'm going to share it because people are going to relate to me, and that's the bottom line with storytelling. And make sure it's, there's clarity to it, consistency to your story. Own your story, consistency. Yeah. So listen to it, get it under 5 minutes. And what we can practice even, next Wednesday, if, whoever listens to it, this and wants to do what we're doing, we can listen to each other's story, give each other pointers. Like, I think that's so important. Telling our story is going to be the foundation of the business and our core beliefs about the business.
Right. Perfect. And I like that idea.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being on the call, and thank you for anybody that listens to the replay. I'm so excited to share this information with you. And every week on Wednesday, we're going to be meeting and having a little meeting and connecting with each other. So everybody's invited, whoever wants to join. And I will see you guys next Wednesday.